Imagine watching your own brother-in-law drive off in the car you worked 3 years to afford, laughing through the window like you were the joke. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. My name is Lena Maris, I'm 29, and I work as a nurse. I don't come from money. Every hour of overtime, every night shift, every skipped vacation, it all went into one thing I wanted for myself, my dream car. A deep blue 2023 Mustang. The day I drove it off the lot, I cried. It wasn't just a car. It was proof that I'd made it on my own. A week later, my sister Sierra and her husband Colt showed up at my place. They were all smiles, suddenly interested in my life. Sierra kept saying how proud she was of me, and Colt kept circling the car, whistling like he'd just discovered treasure. He said things like, "Man, this thing's wasted on a nurse," and laughed like it was a joke. I brushed it off, trying not to start anything. Over dinner, Sierra casually asked if they could borrow my car for a few days. She said their old truck was in the shop, and they just needed something reliable for Colt to get to work. My gut told me no. I told her I wasn't comfortable lending it out. I'd just bought it, and I barely knew how it handled myself. She looked annoyed, but Colt just smirked and said, "Don't worry, Lena. Family should share." That sentence stuck in my head. Family should share. I've shared everything with Sierra since we were kids. Clothes, rooms, even money when she needed it. But this car? This was the one thing that was truly mine. 2 days later, I woke up to an empty driveway. My stomach dropped. I ran outside thinking maybe it had been towed, but there were no signs. No broken glass. No tracks. Just gone. I called Sierra first. She picked up sounding sleepy. When I told her my car was missing, she hesitated before saying, "Maybe someone stole it?" Her tone was off, too calm. Then, in the background, I heard Colt's voice saying something about getting gas. My heart froze. I asked if Colt had my car. She denied it at first, then said he'd borrowed it for errands. My hands were shaking. I told her that's not borrowing, that's stealing. She said I was being dramatic. Colt grabbed the phone and told me to relax. Said he'd bring it back when he was done. Then he hung up. I stood there in silence, staring at the empty driveway, feeling something in me break. 3 years of work, 3 years of saving. And just like that, it was gone, taken by the two people who were supposed to love me most. That's the moment I decided I wasn't letting this slide. Lena drove straight to Sierra's house, heart pounding so hard it almost drowned out her thoughts. Her car was nowhere in sight, but Colt's old truck sat crooked in the driveway. Sierra opened the door with that same practiced smile, acting like nothing was wrong. "Where's my car?" Lena asked. Her voice was calm, but every word felt like glass in her throat. Sierra blinked, pretending to be confused. "What do you mean? Didn't you park it at your place?" "Don't lie to me," Lena said. "I called you this morning." I heard Colt in the background. Sierra crossed her arms. "Oh, that? He just borrowed it for errands. You're really overreacting." Before Lena could reply, Colt walked into the doorway, wiping his hands on a towel, wearing that smirk that made her stomach twist. "You act like I stole it," he said. "Relax. It's a car, not your firstborn. You took it without asking." "That's stealing," Lena said, trying to keep her voice steady. Colt laughed, the sound sharp and mean. "You've always been selfish, Lena. Everything's a drama with you. I was just helping Sierra out. We needed something that actually runs." Sierra looked between them, pretending to play peacekeeper. "Please don't make this a big deal," she said softly. "He didn't mean anything by it. You know Colt." "That's exactly the problem," Lena shot back. That night, she called her parents, hoping someone would understand. Instead, her father sighed and said, "He's family, Lena. Don't make trouble over a car." Her mother's voice followed, calm but firm. "You've always been a little too protective of your things. Maybe just let them use it until they sort themselves out." Lena gripped the phone so hard her knuckles turned white. "It's not theirs to use," she said quietly. Her mother sighed again. "You've always been stubborn, sweetheart. Be the bigger person." When the call ended, Lena sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the silent phone. The people who should have defended her made her feel like she was the problem. She drove to her parents' house the next day, trying again. Her father stood on the porch, arms crossed. "You're blowing this out of proportion," he said. "They didn't mean harm." "Sierra said they told you." "She told me after it was gone," Lena said. "That's not permission." Her father shook his head. "You can buy another car, Lena. You can't buy another sister." Lena felt a coldness spread through her chest. "Maybe I can't," she said. "But right now, I don't think I want one." When she left, the sun was setting, washing the street in a dull red glow. She sat in her old pickup, staring at the empty seat beside her. For the first time, she saw her family clearly, not as the people who raised her, but as a wall she'd been banging her head against her whole life. And that wall had finally cracked. Lena sat in her car outside the police station for 10 minutes before walking in. Her hands trembled as she filled out the report, her voice steady only because she forced it to be. The officer listened, typing slowly, eyes flicking up every few seconds. When she finished, he nodded. "We'll look into it," he said, his tone polite but distant. She knew what that meant. Another file in another drawer. As soon as she got home, her phone rang. Sierra's name flashed on the screen. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Did you seriously call the police?" Sierra hissed. "You've lost it, Lena. This is family business, not criminal stuff." "It became criminal when Colt drove away in something that doesn't belong to him," Lena said. Sierra let out a sharp laugh. "You're so dramatic. He's not hiding it. He just needed it for a bit. You could have called us before dragging cops into it." Lena's jaw clenched. "I did call. You hung up. Because you were yelling." Sierra snapped. "You've always had control issues. Maybe this is your way of feeling powerful." Lena hung up before she could say something she'd regret. She stared at the wall for a long time, wondering how her own sister could twist things so easily. The next day, one of the officers called to ask if she had any leads. Lena mentioned Colt's friend, a guy named Travis who owned a property outside town. The officer wrote it down, promised to check it out, but didn't sound convinced. "We'll keep you updated," he said, and that was the end of it. A few hours later, Lena's mother showed up at her door uninvited. "You need to stop this nonsense," she said before even sitting down. "Sierra is embarrassed. You're making the whole family look bad." "I'm trying to get my car back," Lena said. "It's just a car," her mother replied sharply. "You can't put your sister's marriage in danger over metal and paint. Drop it before you do something you can't take back." Lena looked at her, searching for any sign of understanding, but there was none. "You're defending a thief," she said quietly. Her mother's expression hardened. "You've always been ungrateful. Sierra helped you when you were broke, remember? That doesn't make stealing okay." Her mother stood up. "Think about what you're doing." Then she left without another word. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. Every sound outside made her flinch. She kept picturing Colt's smirk, the way Sierra's voice had turned sharp and cold. No one was on her side. She opened her laptop and started digging. She found a photo of Travis on social media, matched it to an address she remembered Colt mentioning once. She copied it down, printed everything she could find, every message, every receipt, every photo of her car she'd ever taken. If no one else would fight for her, she'd do it herself. Quietly, patiently, until there was nothing left for them to deny. It was late when Lena found it. She had been scrolling through local car listings, more out of desperation than hope, when the color caught her eye, metallic blue, the exact shade of her Mustang. Her pulse quickened. She clicked the ad, and there it was, the same dent on the rear bumper, the same tiny scratch near the handle. No doubt, it was hers. The seller's name wasn't Colt, but the photos told the truth. He had posted them from a fake account, using a blurry profile picture and an address in a nearby town. The price was just low enough to make it look like a quick sale. He was trying to get rid of it fast. Lena leaned closer to the screen, reading every word of the post. Low mileage, one owner, clean title. Her stomach twisted. Every line felt like a slap, a lie wrapped in confidence. She opened her phone and took screenshots, one after another, careful not to miss anything. The post time, the pictures, even the contact number. Proof. Her first thought was to call the police, but she stopped herself. The last time she had gone to them, it ended in polite shrugs and empty promises. This time she wanted certainty, not sympathy. She saved everything on a flash drive and printed copies, stacking them neatly on her kitchen table like weapons ready for war. The next morning, she drove to Sierra's house. The curtains were half drawn, and the smell of coffee drifted through the open window. Sierra opened the door in her robe, eyes widening when she saw Lena holding the printed pages. "What's this?" Lena asked, her voice cold. Sierra glanced down, her smile fading. "Where did you get that?" "Doesn't matter. Why is my car online under a fake name?" Sierra stammered. "That's not what it looks like. Colt he was joking around. He put it up for fun, to see what people would offer. He wasn't really going to sell it." Lena stared at her. "You think I'm stupid?" Sierra looked away, biting her lip. "Please don't make this worse. He didn't mean harm. You know how he is." Lena said nothing. The silence stretched until Sierra began to fidget, her voice shrinking. "You're making me nervous, Lena. Say something." But Lena didn't. She just turned, walked back to her car, and shut the door. Her sister's voice called out behind her, pleading, but she didn't look back. That night, Lena sat by her window, the folder of evidence beside her. Every instinct screamed to confront them again, to yell, to demand justice. But instead, she stayed quiet. Anger would only warn them. Silence, though, silence could cut deeper. She looked at the screenshots again, memorizing every detail. This time, she wouldn't rush. She wouldn't trust anyone else to fix it. If they wanted to play dirty, she'd learn their game. And when the time came, they wouldn't see her revenge coming until it was far too late. Lena didn't knock this time. She pulled into the driveway, her headlights slicing through the dark, and walked straight to the side of the house where the garage door was slightly open. Her gut told her what she'd find, but seeing it still hit like a punch. Her Mustang sat there, covered in dust, wearing license plates that didn't belong to it. Colt hadn't even tried to hide the arrogance. The same car, the same dent, only disguised with someone else's identity. The metal door creaked as she pushed it open. The sound echoed through the quiet neighborhood. Colt appeared from the back door, wiping grease from his hands, his smirk already in place. "Well, look who finally decided to visit," he said. "You really should have called first." Lena's eyes stayed on the car. "You changed the plates," she said. He shrugged. "Can't have the cops poking around, can we? You made enough noise already." Her jaw tightened. "That's not your car, Colt. You don't even have the right to touch it." He laughed, slow and mocking. "You really called the cops over this? You must be desperate for attention." It's pathetic. The word hit her harder than she expected, but she didn't flinch. She just looked at him, calm, steady, silent. That unnerved him more than any scream would have. The door behind him opened, and Sierra appeared, her face pale. She took one look at Lena, then at the car and froze. "Colt," she whispered, "why didn't you move it?" "Because I'm not scared of her," he said flatly. Sierra turned to Lena, her voice trembling. "Please don't do this. He made a mistake, but he didn't mean harm. You can't press charges. It'll ruin everything." "Everything," Lena repeated quietly. "You mean your marriage?" Sierra nodded, tears gathering in her eyes. "We're just trying to hold things together. You don't understand how hard it's been." Lena stepped closer until she could see the reflection of her own face in the car's window. "You think this is about marriage problems?" she asked. "He stole from me. You lied for him. What's left to understand?" Colt crossed his arms. "You think you're better than us because you've got a steady job and a shiny car. You've always looked down on us." Lena turned toward him, her expression unreadable. "I don't look down on anyone," she said softly, "but I see people clearly now." For a moment, no one spoke. The air between them felt heavy, almost electric. Sierra's breathing was shallow. Colt's smirk faltered, unsure whether she was about to explode or walk away. Instead, Lena stepped back. She didn't shout. She didn't curse. She just opened the garage door wider, letting the night air rush in. "Keep it for now," she said, her voice low. "You'll need it more than I will." Then she turned and walked away. No slammed doors. No last words. Just the sound of her footsteps fading down the driveway. Colt called after her, but she didn't answer. Sierra's soft sobs followed her instead. And for the first time, Lena realized her silence had power, and they were finally afraid of it. Lena moved cautiously, thinking like someone setting a trap. First, she called her insurer and canceled the policy. She explained the situation calmly, insisting the vehicle be marked as stolen again, so any attempt at transfer would flag immediately. The customer service agent sighed and asked questions, but Lena stayed firm. This time she wanted official paperwork trailing every step. Next, she reached out to a private investigator she'd found through a friend at the hospital. Detective Morales showed up that afternoon with a quiet confidence that made Lena trust him right away. He didn't scoff or offer hollow sympathy. Instead, he read the evidence she'd gathered, asked precise questions, and said what mattered. He believed her, and he had ideas. One of Morales's suggestions was practical and surgical. He supplied a small GPS beacon, the kind couriers hide inside freight to track shipment. Lena's hands shook when he handed it over, but she followed instructions without hesitation. They waited until nightfall. With Morales watching the perimeter, Lena slipped into the garage where the Mustang sat and tucked the tracker into a hollow behind the glove compartment, a place Colt would rarely check. She took care to leave nothing disturbed, then left as if nothing had happened. For days, she watched a map that Morales shared from his secure account. The dot moved slowly at first, then stayed put on properties she'd long suspected, places Colt liked to joke about when he bragged to friends. Lena photographed every ping and noted the time. Each coordinate became a time-stamped entry in a growing file she labeled evidence. Morales advised patience. A rushed strike could ruin the legal angle they were building. She also reopened her earlier police report, walking into the station with fresh details and the tracker's records printed and laminated. This time the officer on duty couldn't ignore the precise timestamps and geographic trail. Lena watched the officer's posture change as she laid the map on the desk. The paper was clinical, indisputable. Dates, times, and locations leading directly to names and addresses tied to Colt's circle. While Morales coordinated surveillance, Lena prepared for courtroom clarity rather than street theatrics. She organized screenshots, copies of messages, the listings she'd discovered, and the insurance cancellation notice showing the exact moment she declared the vehicle missing. Her goal was to create a chain so complete nobody could plausibly claim a misunderstanding. At night, she rehearsed her statements aloud, practicing how she would speak without letting anger warp the facts. Morales reminded her that calm credibility often outweighed theatrical rage in a legal setting. Make them listen to evidence, he said. Let the paper do the shouting. Throughout the process, Lena never lost sight of the aim: recover what was hers and ensure there was a record of betrayal that couldn't be erased by charm or family pressure. She wanted restitution, not revenge for its own sake. She wanted the truth to stand in cold print and official log. The plan moved forward quietly, with steady steps and airtight documentation. No dramatic confrontations, no impulsive violence. Only meticulous preparation and facts lined up like dominoes. When the time came to act, she would present a ledger of proof so thorough the only option left for them would be accountability. It happened early on a Thursday morning. Lena was at work when Detective Morales called. His tone was calm, but there was a current of satisfaction underneath. "We've got it," he said. "We're heading out now." She drove to the edge of town, to a stretch of farmland surrounded by rusted wire fences and half-buried tires. Police cruisers lined the dirt road, their lights flashing red against the pale dawn. Morales met her near the gate, clipboard in hand. "We found your car," he told her, hidden under a tarp behind a shed. Lena followed him past the fence, her boots sinking in the mud. The tarp was already pulled back. There it was, her Mustang, dusty but unmistakably hurt. The fake plates were gone now, replaced by the originals, as if Colt had tried to cover his tracks too late. The sight of it should have brought relief, but instead it felt heavy, hollow. Colt stood a few yards away, hands cuffed, his face twisted in disbelief. "You set me up," he spat as she walked by. "You think you're clever?" Lena didn't look at him. Morales gave a subtle shake of his head, signaling her to stay quiet. Officers read Colt his rights, their voices flat and methodical. He kept shouting, but his words blurred into the noise of engines and radio. For once, his arrogance sounded desperate. By the time she returned home, the news had already reached her family. Sierra was waiting outside Lena's apartment, eyes red, hair unbrushed, anger vibrating through her every movement. "Are you happy now?" she shouted the moment Lena stepped out of her car. "You destroyed my life. My husband's in jail because of you." Lena closed the door carefully, her voice even. "He's in jail because he stole. I just told the truth." Sierra shook her head, tears spilling over. "You could have let it go. You always have to be the hero, don't you?" "There's nothing heroic about standing up for yourself," Lena said quietly. "It's just what decent people do." Sierra stepped back like she'd been slapped. "You'll regret this," she whispered. Then she turned and walked away, shoulders shaking. That evening, Lena's parents called. Her father spoke first, his tone subdued. "We saw the report," he said. "It's bad. I didn't think Colt would go that far." Her mother's voice followed, softer but trembling. "We owe you an apology. We should have listened." Lena sat in silence for a moment, staring out her window at the fading light. "You didn't want to believe it," she said. "It's easier when I'm the problem." Neither of them answered. The call ended quietly, without excuses, without comfort. Later that night, she went to the garage where her car had been stored. The smell of dust and oil clung to the air. She ran her hand along the hood, feeling the grit under her palm. It wasn't about the car anymore. It was about everything it represented. The truth was out, but the damage was done. Her sister's marriage was shattered, her parents' trust cracked beyond repair. And yet, beneath the ache, there was something new, a clean, steady calm. For the first time in months, Lena didn't feel powerless. The courthouse smelled of paper and old varnish, a place where truth and lies were forced to share the same air. Lena sat at the plaintiff's table beside Detective Morales, hands folded in her lap, eyes fixed on the front of the room. Across from her, Colt leaned back in his chair like it was a joke he was about to win. His suit looked borrowed, his smirk rehearsed. Sierra sat behind him, pale and fidgeting, a tissue crushed in her hand. When the judge entered, the room fell silent. The bailiff read the charges: grand theft auto, fraud, falsified registration. Each word landed like a hammer. Colt's grin tightened, but he didn't look at Lena. He stared straight ahead, as if eye contact might make him human again. Lena was called first. She rose, walked to the stand, and took the oath. Her voice didn't shake. She spoke clearly, detailing the timeline, the theft, the listing she found, the hidden plates, the GPS record. Every sentence was backed by paper, every fact numbered and dated. The prosecutor handed exhibits to the clerk: screenshots, text logs, the printout of the tracking data that showed Colt's movements across town. When shown the photos of her car under the tarp, Lena didn't look away. She simply said, "That's mine." Colt's attorney tried to paint it as a misunderstanding. "Wouldn't you say this was more of a family disagreement?" asked. "No," Lena replied. "A disagreement ends with words. Theft ends with handcuffs." A few murmurs rippled through the gallery. Even the judge's brow lifted slightly at her calm tone. Then Colt took the stand. His confidence faltered the moment the prosecutor displayed the screenshots from the car listing. "That's not me," he said, but his voice wavered when the detective produced the metadata showing his IP address and timestamp. The GPS data followed, matching his phone's location perfectly. Each piece stacked on the last, and the smirk faded for good. Sierra was called next. She dabbed her eyes, whispering that she'd only tried to protect her husband. But when the prosecutor asked about the listing, her answers tangled into contradictions. She claimed Colt posted it as a joke, but when shown messages between them discussing potential buyers, she froze. The judge's tone sharpened. "You're under oath, Mrs. Davis. Think carefully before you answer." Sierra broke then, tears spilling, voice cracking. "He told me it was temporary," she sobbed. "I didn't think he'd actually sell it." The courtroom fell silent, except for the soft scratching of the clerk's pen. Colt glared at her, jaw tight, betrayal flashing across his face. When closing statements ended, the judge took a long pause before speaking. His voice carried no warmth, only finality. "The evidence is clear. The defendant knowingly took and attempted to sell property that was not his. The court finds him guilty." Lena exhaled slowly, the tension leaving her body like air escaping a tire. Colt's shoulders slumped as deputies approached. Sierra's sobs filled the room, but Lena didn't look back. She stood, gathered her papers, and walked out with her head high. For the first time, justice didn't feel distant. It was standing right beside her. The verdict led to a sentence that echoed louder than any argument ever could. Colt was taken away in cuffs, his jaw locked tight, eyes empty of the confidence he once wore like armor. 6 years, the judge had ruled. Time enough for him to think about everything he'd gambled away. Sierra didn't wait for appeals or visits. She packed her things, sold their house, and left town without saying goodbye to anyone. Rumor had it she went to live with an aunt in Oregon, but Lena didn't ask. There was nothing left to say. Weeks later, Lena received a letter from the correctional facility, written in Colt's sharp handwriting. She didn't open it. She slipped it into a drawer and left it there, sealed, like a reminder of what betrayal costs when it finally catches up. Life began to steady in small, quiet ways. Her parents came by one Sunday afternoon, carrying a pie like peace could be baked back into their relationship. Her father spoke first, his voice thin. "We were wrong," he said. "About everything." Her mother couldn't look at her at first. She just kept wiping at invisible crumbs on the table. Lena listened without interrupting. Their words were full of guilt, the kind that arrives too late to fix anything. When her mother finally met her eyes, tears streaked her cheeks. "You didn't deserve how we treated you," she whispered. Lena nodded once. "No," she said, "but I understand now." They stayed for coffee, the silence between them softer than it had been in months, but still fragile, like glass repaired with glue, holding its shape yet forever marked by the crack. After they left, Lena walked into her garage and stood before the Mustang. The blue paint still gleamed, but it didn't feel like hers anymore. Every glance at it brought back flashes, the lies, the shouting, the sting of betrayal. She had fought so hard to get it back, yet now it sat there like a ghost of who she'd been before everything fell apart. She posted it for sale the next morning. When a young man showed up, nervous but excited, she handed over the keys without hesitation. Watching him drive away, she felt something strange, not regret, not loss, but release. A few days later, she found a used Jeep listed by a retired mechanic. It wasn't flashy, just sturdy and simple, the kind of car that fit the person she'd become. She drove it home with the windows down, the wind clearing the stale air that had clung to her. That night, Lena sat on her porch, sipping tea, the soft hum of cicadas filling the quiet. The Mustang was gone, the anger too. In its place was a stillness she hadn't felt in years. It wasn't victory or revenge, just peace earned the hard way. And for the first time, that was enough. Months passed, each one peeling away the noise that had once filled Lena's life. The court dates, the police visits, the long nights staring at her ceiling. They all faded into memory, leaving behind something cleaner, quieter. She still worked long hours at the hospital, still came home to the same small apartment, but everything felt different. The silence wasn't heavy anymore, it was peaceful. Some mornings, she would wake before dawn and sit by the window, watching the first light touch the street. That used to be the hour when her thoughts spun in circles, all the what-ifs, all the replayed arguments. Now she just breathed. The ache that once knotted in her chest had loosened into understanding. Family had always meant everything to her. She grew up believing blood was unbreakable, that love could excuse anything. But betrayal had shown her a harder truth, that sometimes the people who share your name can hurt you in ways strangers never could. It wasn't bitterness that filled her now, it was clarity. She learned that forgiveness wasn't something automatic or owed just because someone was sorry, or because others told her to be the bigger person. It had to be earned through change, through effort, through something more than empty apologies. And if that never came, she owed no one her peace. Sierra hadn't called. Her parents sent the occasional card, soft words written in careful script, but Lena didn't rush to reply. She wasn't angry. She just didn't feel the same pull to fix everything anymore. Some bridges didn't need to be rebuilt. Some were better as lessons. She spent her weekends driving the old Jeep down empty county roads, windows open, wind whipping her hair across her face. No destination, no weight pressing her down. The hum of the engine and the sound of gravel under the tires became her new comfort, honest, simple, hers. Once, she caught sight of a blue Mustang speeding past in the opposite lane. Her chest tightened for half a second, but the feeling slipped away before she could name it. That chapter was gone, sealed and silent. When she parked that evening and stepped out under the fading sun, she realized she wasn't looking backward anymore. She'd fought, she'd lost, she'd won. And in the end, she'd found something steadier than revenge, control over her own life again. People had taken things from her, trust, family warmth, even pride. But none of them could touch the strength she'd built in their absence. It was hers now, quiet, resilient. She leaned against the Jeep's hood, watching the sky melt from gold to violet, and a small smile tugged at her lips. The words came to her easily, not angry or bitter, but certain. "They took my car," Lena whispered to the empty road, "but I took back my power. Do you think I did the right thing by walking away from them, or should I have given my family another chance? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed my story, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned.